In this tutorial in DaVinci Resolve, we'd like to show you how to get started with keyframes. If you're new to video editing, keyframes can be very intimidating, but they're a very powerful tool in the arsenal of a video editor. You can do amazing things with keyframes, applying them either to graphic images, to video images, to audio files, to titles, and more. So what I'd like to do is show you a little bit about how keyframes work, and then we'll look at some of the initial tools you'll be using in Resolve to make keyframes your friend. I have a graphic image I've placed on track number 1. It's just the image of an arrow. And let's assume I want to modify that. If you've done any video editing with Resolve, you know that you can open the inspector, and in the inspector you have all kinds of parameters or qualities of that object that you can change. Let's say, for example, we want the arrow not to be in the center of the screen, but on the right side. Well, I've learned that I can take the X position and I can drag over the numbers and I can change and move the arrow back to the right side. And when I play the clip now, for the duration of the clip, it's not in the center, it's parked on the right side. That's a good thing. But what if I actually want the arrow to look like it's moving? That's where keyframes come in, because a keyframe essentially changes the value of a parameter over time. So with my playhead at the beginning, I'm going to set a parameter, and it's going to be the position that I have right now on the screen. I set the keyframe by clicking on the little diamond to the right of that particular value, and it will turn red. And up here it says, now I have transform keyframes active. In particular, I have my X position and Y position value active at this moment in my project. Now if I go ahead and play this, nothing seems to change. That's because what I need to do is set a contrasting keyframe with a different value at another place. I'm going to take my playhead and simply move it over this far, and then we're going to set a different keyframe. I can do that in one of two ways. I can click another diamond on that value, but I don't have to. All I need to do is change the value at this point in time, and it will automatically set another keyframe. So I'm going to take my position and drag over to the left. We'll actually move it off the screen. You don't have to stay on the screen. You notice I not only now have a red diamond, I have an arrow. The arrow means I've got at least one other keyframe in my project. If I click on that arrow, it should take my cursor back to my keyframe. And because I have two, now the next arrow points to the right, and if I click on that, it will take it to the second location. If I had 10 or 15, it would hop from keyframe to keyframe to keyframe. The command to remember that's a lot easier than clicking on the mouse is use the left bracket and right bracket keys on your keyboard. That's a very quick way to hop from keyframe to keyframe to keyframe. So now let's see what happens. We have two keyframes. One says the X position is here. The second one has it off the screen to the left. Let's play and see what we get. And so now we have the illusion of motion with a solid graphic object. And so what it does is the computer calculates the difference in value between the first point in time and the last point in time, and it automatically changes every single frame in between to reflect the difference between those two values. Let's go to the second keyframe. Let's say we want to modify it. We don't want it off the screen. So we're going to click on our keyframe value, and now we're simply going to modify the position. We'll put it back on the screen a little bit at my second value. We'll go back to the first keyframe and we'll play this, and now it moves from point A to point B. The closer the keyframes are together, the faster the apparent motion. The farther apart they are, the slower. And we'll show you in subsequent lessons how to adjust the position and value of keyframes when you're editing in DaVinci Resolve. Now, if you want to reset the keyframes, you click on the backward circle arrow by the value. This will reset the keyframes only for position. If you want to reset all the keyframes, you click on the arrow with the plus on it in the upper right corner. Let's show you a slightly more complicated version of this. Here I have a baseball on the screen. And we're going to play this. Again, it's a single picture of a baseball, nothing special, but when I play this, I have it spinning and bouncing and changing. What I've changed in this one, if we look at it carefully, we see the size of the ball changes, the rotation of the ball changes, and the position of the ball changes, all with keyframes. Because when we take this entire image and we turn off all the keyframes, let's do that. I have to click on it first. This is what we started with. A very static picture of a baseball, nothing special. So that shows you the power of what you can do when you apply keyframes to an object. We're going to show you more in the future, but this gets you started at the basic principle of setting two different values or more on an object over time and changing them to accomplish the kind of thing you want to do. Experiment with keyframes if you haven't before and use some of these controls.